Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Cross. Bam bam! What's up, suckers? I'm testing something, checking some stuff out here. Just pinged me. It's great. Okay, so as you can see, I'm starting to look at shaders for how I'm going to do the fish. But let's back off of that. Today we're going to do swipe interactions, and so there's no easy swipe call here. So we're going to do it from scratch. So let me show you how to do this by just tracking. Touch and not touch. So let's look at the input events filter for buttons, right? Let's talk about this for a second. So input down, input held, and input up. Let's go over to Keynote for a second. Let's do this, duplicate this, delete a bunch of stuff. Button states. One thing you have to understand is button states from a scripting point of view. So let's do a couple of different things. I'm going to make a few buttons. Let's just make them green. Drop this up a little bit. Let's give it a drop shadow. We'll make that drop shadow green. And let's get the distance for that shadow a little bit longer. There we go. We'll turn the blur up some. No blur. Okay. And that'll be good. So that's our button up. Let's do text. Button up. All right. Duplicate that. Let's take this button over. Take this, duplicate this, button down. So ostensibly, when you play games, you really only think about the button up state and the button down state. And let's keep the drop shadow, but let's make the offset really low, just so that we can see that it's down here, right? So let's also drop one of these things in, and I will. Okay, there we go. So when you press it, the button is down, right? And then the sequence you have to understand, and there's not actually only just two states here. You have to add one more thing, which is, and let's do this, is consider that every time a button is pressed, why'd it go over there? Why nothing work? And I'll just call this time sequence. All right, and let's take a quick Joshua True. Let's take a quick look at this. So Josh, this is, you think of it as button up, button down, button up, button down. But what you have to realize is this is actually a loop for the player, right? And the button. The button in this sequence actually comes back to up, right? So now let's look at this state. Input event filter. Button down, that's the action when it goes down. Button held is the amount of time that it's down, right? So if I spread these out again a little bit more, you get button up, button down. Come on. Come on! You can do it! Right. And let's see, I'm going to run out of room here, I think. And we're going to do this. I just realized that I need to turn on my cursor tracker so you can see where the hell it is. Pinpoint! What up, son? So button held, and in between this button hold and button up, there's a timing function, right? How long has it been held? That gets kicked out. Well, the time doesn't get kicked out here, but the button hold is an actual event. Button up is the end of that event. So if you think about it this way, we go back here. Okay, I'm going to simulate this. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, button up. So the whole sequence is start, time in the middle, and the button up sequence at the end. So technically what that means, and I just did that by drawing this marquee box, is that you know a swipe, right? So watch my cursor go from left to right. That's a swipe. So button down, button up, that's a swipe, right? So let's actually recreate that in script. So raycast from mouse cursor, let's actually duplicate this piece, right? And let's say add in, let's see, action, editor only. Let's put in a few logs just to show that the mechanics are working, right? So on button down, let's add a variable string, make this variable start swipe. Right. Then let's duplicate this whole thing. We're going to do input up, right? And change this to end swipe. All right. Now, what I'm going to do for held is a little bit different. Actually, let's do that first. Let's build this. So I'll show you how this works in the console. All right. Compiling. We like compiling. I'm a little coffeeed up this morning. Let's get jittery. Come on, Josh. Let's get jittery. So, Josh, I'm going to try and do this in like an hour, and then at 11 o'clock, you'll give me a call, share your screen, and we'll switch the show over to me shadowing what you're doing, and then see how that goes. All right? Does that sound good? Give me a holler in the chat room. Holla! Everybody holla! Okay, so let's look at, let me actually not maximize this. Game maximize. Maximize. Okay, so we've still got this bit here, right? There's our swipe. So let's do this. We should be getting, oh, okay, it's counting up. You see these numbers over here on the side? It's nice. They've actually put this in so it doesn't just start filling your console. So start swipe should go, right? Start. My mouse can move around. End swipe 10. Start. End. All right. Now all we need to do at that point is throw in a let's do add action time. We don't want to delay, we actually want a stopwatch, right? So we want to start the stopwatch. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is add a variable, linked variable. There's our float, right? And let's call this swipe time. Right? Make this, we're not going to make this public, right? But I do want to copy this for somewhere else. So, swipe time, then what we will do is add another one of these log functions. And in fact, what I'm going to do for this, so that we can see it at all times, is add an event. We will Game events, global update. You know what I'm gonna do is we're going to actually get a little tricky with this. Actually, I'm not. Let's just on update. Tell me what this time is. I think it's not going to give me exactly the result I want, but that's okay. Actually, on input up, we're going to reset this. On input hold, we're going to do, we'll start it on input down, reset it on input up, and then input hold is actually where we're going to put this log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood, it's log. Okay, so let me line these up vertically so that we can see that we should be getting 3 log outputs, right? Start swipe, how long the swipe time is, and then end swipe, okay? And then I am going to put this somewhere out of the way. Look at that, I made myself a lane for the spaghetti. All right, save this. Holla! Holla ba holla. Okay. Here we go. It's all clear. We get our first swipe. 0. There's our time, right? 3.9 seconds. 1.6. 0.9. Right? It's still going. See it clicking? It clicked out, but it's still tracking. So I think basically we're only going to get that piece. So you know what let's do is instead of it constantly kicking out a time, we are going to tell us how much time at the end of the swipe, because that's really what we care about, right? So when the input is done, we will report the time, how long that input was. Okay? This seems like extraneous stuff just for teaching, but what I've actually done here is worked out the logic on how we're actually going to track a swipe. So I'll replace these logs with what we actually want it to do at those points in time. So when you're working stuff out, it helps to throw these log functions up so that you know that your logic in your brain on how the scripting is working. Right? So let's see. Let's get, no, give me something, give me something, give me something. Oh, it's updating. What, how much time are we getting there? You know what, it's resetting. What I need to do, let's do this. I'm resetting the stopwatch, we're always gonna get 0. And it's happening at the same time as this log function, so let's do this. We will put these in line and then reset this way, and in fact this will clean this up. We will do this, and that basically makes us gives us a little bit cleaner spaghetti. All right, spaghetti. It's a noodles. I like a noodles. The noodles for you, noodles for me. All right, now we should get a real number over here that will give us how long the swipe was. One thing you'll also notice, though, is while every time I click here, right, is I'm going to get a sonar bump or a ripple. Looks like missile command. Anyway, let's see. There we go. We're getting our timing, right? start swipe, end swipe. There's our originals. Let's clear this. Come on. There we go. 7.4 seconds. No, that's not right. 3.4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2. I think I'm still kicking out the time in a funny place. I found time in a funny place. Anyway, that gives us a rough idea of what this is. I think our reporting function is... let's do this. We checked our time. Let's move this log function to here. Whoa, whoa, feedback. We'll move this over to this part when we do check the time. And you can see sometimes working with the nodes, it's trial and error, right? So we're going to kick that out. And we'll kick the timeout at the end when we reset. Actually, I don't even need to do that. When we reset. Oh, but my time's going to be 0 again. Son of a bitch, you piece of shoe. God damn. Actually, what I had was probably right. Swipe time. Kick this log function here. As long as it happens before the reset, we're good to go. Come on. Get magnetic. Let's do it. You like this node. There you go. Hug the node. Hug. It's all hugs. It's all just hugs. Let's rebuild all our graphs. Okay, and let's actually, it looks like I have to save it. Save. There we go. We're all good. Yay! All right. I know, that's random. Do 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 do. Okay, let's play it. Let's see if we get this kicked out here. 0. Oh, now I'm getting the amount of time that was there before I reset. Notice it's just incrementing. Because I'm not actually resetting it. Well, that's good to know. Okay. Generally, this is working, so let's get moving. So we want to swipe. You'll also notice that every time I click on the water, that it's going to kick off an event that makes the water do its thing, right? So what we want to do is actually find a tap, right? If I tap it, I want the sonar. If I swipe, I maybe don't want that sonar. Maybe I want something else to happen. Maybe I want more of a swipey graphic instead of our fish finder, right? So let's go. Okay, just checking. Let's go talk about this for a second. So if I'm swiping, I don't want this to happen, right? So let's do change this to input up, right? Let's do that for a second and see. And what that is going back to our PowerPoint. This whole sequence ahead of time will happen, and then when button up happens is when we'll kick this off. So what I'm counting on is the timing function of this. If it's short, just a tap, you don't notice that it's button up because you're tapping the screen, right? If it's a long thing, right? Notice now I have the inverse or the opposite of what I had before. Now I have a swipe, with a sonar bubble at the end. So let's fix that. Okay, if, and let's do it this way. Swipe time is actually I can just put it right in here, right? Let's move it this way. No, don't hit delete. Okay, now let's do add condition comparison float. Okay, what we're going to do is say if on input held swipe time is less than, you know, I'm going to make myself some room here. Come on. Let's get some work room. If swipe time is less than, and variables, float, some amount of time, and let's call this 0.2 seconds, right? And we will actually call this max swipe threshold. We're going to make this public. So let's call this 0.5 seconds because that's going to be easier to show for a second. So if it's greater than or equal to half a second, sorry, if it's less than or equal to half a second, then do this action. So if it's larger than this, it won't happen, right? So every time the swipe time gets reset, it should be fine. But up. Let's play this. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna do this. Watch this crazy action. Come on, give me the business. Give me the business. Drop it in here. Did that work? No, that didn't give me the thing. Let's move this window down a little bit. And I am going to drop it into our inspector. Actually, go there. I'm going to drop it down here so we can watch this script as it's going. So I'm going to watch this swipe time number when we're playing. Right. Okay. So just a note, I've been working with UScript in its own window just because I like to have the screen space, but you can drop it right here in the editor and work side by side on this stuff. So I've got, there's our window. So you see that swipe time is 0. And now I don't get a sonar bubble when I hold the mouse longer than a certain amount of time. Oh, actually, I'm not getting it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you got to be pretty quick to beat 0.5 seconds. Half a second might be okay. Just give me little mini swipes. Come on. Come on. Come on. Give me the thing. Come on, son. Okay. Now, that seems to work all right. Oh. There we go. No, what is it doing? What is going on? I don't know. There we go. Okay, now it's its own separate window again, so we can look at it. All right, so that seems to be working. The threshold seems a little tight. I think part of it is also actually because it's in debug. So let's just make this a whole second for now. As default, let's look at, I made it public, so let's go to our inspector, view script, exposed variables. Let's make it 1 second. Control S, play it, play it. Okay, so now, as long as my tap, as long as the button goes down, then back up in under a second, 1 1000, 1 1000, 1 1000, 1 1002 and 3, nothing. Okay. All right. We're talking about a pretty tight time threshold here. 1 second is too long, but that's okay. Let's leave it at that for now because the visual difference is important. Okay, that gives us a swipe. Let's start talking about what we're doing on those swipes a little bit. So we want that sonar to happen. We want some fish to happen. We have a swipe versus a tap, right? So on this swipe, when we do have a swipe, and in all honesty, I can combine these two script lines a little bit to be, let's see, I am going to drop a comment, add comment, where this thing is basically, all I care about from here is that we are getting, here's the body of the comment, tap time tracker. Okay. That's what this is. Right? And I'll just leave that called comment. Another comment up here, just so we know. Make this our tap action. What's the right word? Sequence. I'll just call it sequence. Okay. Seems redundant, but I kind of think all I want from here, and it's nice to have these log functions, this is just telling me, I don't know if I can compress this. Okay. That's as small as it's going to get. I just want to know what the time is on my taps, right? So that's all that's going on here, but the most important thing is I'm setting this swipe time variable. All right. And let's leave it at that. Single function, keeps it nice and clean, and then I'm gonna nest everything up so that it's out of the way. It does what it does. It sets up the swipe time to be whatever it is. Hey, you know what? No, it's changing. Okay. Now, we've got our swipe threshold. We've got our Raycaster mouse cursor is the less than or equal to that number. Let's see if I can make myself a little more room here. I'm going to move all of this up slightly. Okay. That gives us our sonar. What else do we need to have here? Do we want to potentially have ripples, right, when this is happening? Well, we can do that off of this piece. So we can do, when button is held, take this train up a little higher. When the button is held, let's actually compare this float, right? And if it's greater than or equal to our swipe threshold, then let's do something else, which is add action. I'm going to use the same bit here, but what we'll do is instead of sonar echo, let's go to our resources. Let's do sonar echo. Let's duplicate this bad boy. Come on. Come on, son! Pull it up here. Let's rename this. Water trail. It's not going to look right for now, but that's okay. Rename this water trail. Drop this. Sorry, hold on. We need to break this prefab so that I don't. So we need to add something to it. Let's see, create 3D object cube. Delete this one. I have to be careful because see that it's still in blue. Okay, now it's in black. Now it's not the original prefab because I'm making a new prefab. Right? There's our water trail. Now I can ditch this cube or actually just make it really small. 2. Actually, there we go. And that'll give us apply that to the prefab. And that'll give us a visual difference, so we know when we're swiping versus when we're just doing a sonar echo. All right, and what we'll do is take all of this, Control-C, Control-V, take this up, all right, and we will put water. Oh, look at that, I've got a misspelling. Water trail. I'm going to change this name. It's not a water trial. Water trail. Up by. Oh, come on, son. Come on, son! What up, son? There we go. Okay. Water trail. So, when input is held, I'm not sure if this is one event or a continual event that it's being held. Let's try that. Greater than or equal to that number. Spawn that action. If this doesn't work, then I'll fix it. But let's see if this works with the trial by water. Yes, Keep, we could actually do that. In fact, I'm gonna put that in as a second check. So now that we've got this bit going, I'm gonna double check our stuff and do time and distance. But let's just get the swipe going. What the effects are, because I think this is where we'll get. That's the next step of this, right? Because if this works kind of how I think it's gonna work. What will end up is a bunch of shitty cubes all over our map, right? Right, and now what ends up happening is the same effect is going to overlap. So let's say that we want, let's put the distance checker in as well. So there we've got, like, you know, a really crappy looking ripple. All right, and I think I'm doing some kind of scale on it, right? Am I doing that? Location, recasting cursor, compare, spawn. Is that built in to? Ah, right. Let's save this. Sonar size for this guy, I want it to be, let's say, 5 and 5. this. So what I did is I had that sonar script, and the sonar script is what's doing the growing and destroying of each thing. Because I copied Sonar Echo, it came along with it before making that prefab, and then I renamed it X, Y, and Z. But the same script applies to this object as it does to that object. It doesn't matter. Because I made public my variables, on this object I can set it to be other things. Right? So using the same script, I've got basically use the same script, right? So there's a bit of a thing. We can ripple the water. No sonar. This time we got both because I'm not doing it's interesting. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more work on being discreet about how not only the timing, but how far away. So do I have this time right? Greater than or equal to 1 second. It seems to be creating it ahead of time, but if that's not catching it, let's do what Keeb is suggesting, which is also get the distance. So let's do that this way, and this is our timing one. I'm going to take the same input action, right? Distance tracker. So when input is down, add action. Actually, I'll just copy from up here. Raycast from the mouse cursor, right? Input down. Hook this up. Hit location, right? Come on. Right, hit game object. I was checking for that, but what I want now is this hit location, which didn't come with me because I didn't create a variable. So we're going to call this one tap the button down. Wow, why are my hands dyslexic today? I keep O and W are both ring finger, and I'm switching my sequence. Button down. Oh yeah, Blind Samurai is extra good at putting bait on a hook, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Button down location. Let's just call this. Yeah, I'll just call it location. Right, and then we're going to do input up. We are going to duplicate that, right? And this is button up location, right? And when we tap here, what we'd like to do is a distance comparison between those two. So let's kick out obstructed, not obstructed. I'm gonna have to do, we won't get a swipe if you swipe off of the water, which may be okay. Let's try that. So if it's obstructed, we will do condition, comparison, compare vector 3s. These are vector 3 variables. Notice it's 3 floats separated by commas. And that should give us a real world thing. Shit. might have to do, let's delete this because that's not going to work. Add conditions, comparison. I don't want to do a straight vector 3 comparison. I want to do, oh, I can check distance. Look at that. Except it's check the distance between two game objects. Let's see. Oh, now I've got a hit distance thing here. Let's see this. What is hit distance? Nope, don't care about that. That's just the distance away from the camera. Check distance is not great. So let's do this. Let's add action variables vector 3. So remember I said a vector 3 is composed of 3 floats. Let's get components of this vector 3, right? We'll say obstructed. It's not valid if it doesn't hit the water, right? There's our input vector 3. Now let's kick out, create a linked variable on x, y, and z. Okay. And actually, I don't care about this as a variable anymore because I'm not using that for comparison. What I am going to do is put some names on this. Let's see, hit, loc, button, down, x. Okay. We're going to name these other guys. Y. Pasting that in. Z. Okay. Now, to make this a little bit easier to read, we're going to duplicate this whole thing. Obstructed. Come on. You like get components. Say hi. Give it a hug. There we go. Okay, now let's change the names of these. Oh. Okay, now I have variables I can compare. So add condition comparison. I can do, check this out, between floats. So let's take this x. For the sake of showing it to you, I'm going to show it to you like this once. So if it's oh, yeah. So this works positive or negative. Let's pull this one down so you can see it. Right? If the target float, actually that's not what I want. Let's back it up. Back it up, B. Back it up. All I want to do is know that it's not larger than a certain distance. So let's do comparison. Compare floats, I think is going to give us exactly what we need. So the distance that we want to set is going to be something like, hold on 1 second. Come on, give it to me. There we go. It's going to be something like larger than, let's say 0.5 units right now. Okay, but I've got two values. The value that I want is the difference between these two. Let's do add variable float. There is a vector 3 distance somewhere, but I kind of want to go through the deconstructing the the vector real quick, and then I'll come back and replace this with that action. Let me delete this. Add action math float. Let's see. We can just do subtract the float. So let's do, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Because I've named it, the variable will update every time the other variable updates. All right? So what is the difference between these two variables? If that difference is larger than 0.5. Although now I've got keep, if I do negatives, if I go the other direction, will I end up with this might not actually work. Hold on, Cube. Let's go the easier way. Distance vector. Get distance vector 3. There we go. Here we go. Let's do this. Just this. Thank you, Cube. Obstructed. This will be easier. Here. This one. This one. And here's our distance. Add variable float. If this distance is, my math was going to start getting really sloppy because I was going to have to start checking, make sure I never had a negative. Right? So, compare float. Actually, I don't need this here. This is our distance between those vector 3's, and let's call this swipe. Well, I'll call it swipe distance just to be consistent. But now let's take, let's take this variable up here. And now we will do another check in here. Zoom this out a little bit. And I can drop in another float check. Let's see here. Now we'll put another compare float in. We want to make sure that we can do this less than or equal to the swipe threshold, and no, swipe distance. If the swipe distance is, let's call it variable float, is, let's call it an arbitrary unit right now. We'll call it 1 unit, 1 distance unit. If it's less than or equal to that distance, we will do this. In fact, I think it's going to be much smaller than that. Let's just call this point. Point 3. Okay. Now we're also going to drop this into. Actually, I'll just drop this in line with this stuff. If it's greater than or equal to. If it's greater than, that's where I got my. My double up over there, because I happen to hit the edge case. Okay, I'm speaking in tongues. There we go. Now we should be getting a double check on our action so that the okay, all right, so nothing actually happens on button down. However, on button held and input up, we get something. So let's do this. Save debug. Yeah, Waddell's a little crazy and brilliant. Keep. Let's get jittery. All right. So, you know, exactly. It's always good to try out the idea because that way, you know, you can get past the, I don't think that's going to work, to, oh, wow, that works awesome. Let's see here. Move these down a little bit. We're built, we're compiled. Let's try this out. Nothing. Okay. No, that's giving me... There we go. That was the correct interaction. I wonder if I'm losing... Tap gives me sonar. I'm looking. I'm watching the hierarchy over there to see what gets created. All right. I wonder... Oh, maybe I'm going too slow for these ripples. Okay, the distance is maybe too close. 0.3. Let's do this. So if it's larger than 0.3, do not spawn a thing. Let's go look at our pond. It's 30 wide, 30 by 20. Distance that I may or may not want there. Let's see, let's create a 3D object Q. Let's make it 30 by 20. That should give us an idea of what the grid looks like. Each one of these larger, slightly gray cells, you may not be able to see them on your screen, should be about 10, right? So if I'm larger than 0.3, this distance check is actually too small. Let's make it more like 2 units. If it's less than or equal to 2, then we can do our bit. If it's larger than that, start to do our other thing. So our distance check was too big, and let's actually call this swipe distance threshold, because I'm pretty sure I didn't get this right with 0.2. So let's save this. Let's delete this Q. Right? So now that you can kind of see these lines here, actually those might be 5 units apiece. 3 will be about this far, I think. Right? Let's try that out. Yeah. I wonder how many people on BioShock played Undying Row. So we're not getting our distance, like our distance check kind of fucked it up. Show up when I go fastish. Okay, let's stop this. Let's look at our use script and our exposed variables. Let's call this 1 unit. I was probably right the first time. Save it. Swipe threshold was 0.5 seconds. Let's actually call it 0.6. It might be. Let's take it to 1 full second, because I want to know. I want to have a human time frame that I can count out in my head to be able to test it. Oh, later, Keep. You're gonna miss Josh's game. Tap, tap. One, no. Okay. Oh, interesting. Less than or equal to my swipe threshold. Ah. Okay. There we go. We are going to actually do a little something different here. I only want to check this distance. I have to do it twice. Right. On input held, check this. If it's less than or equal to, we're going to do greater than the swipe threshold. The logic is split, and swipe distance is greater than this. We're going there. If it's less than this swipe threshold, and we can ditch this, less than or equal to this. So basically, here's our greater than thread, right? Our logic, greater than logic up here, which will create swipes. If it's less than, then we will get a tap. And that's where I was getting some double ups there. So debug. Red Elf shot the food. Okay. Now, this is basically, we've got a swipe. Took us about an hour to talk it through. There we go. Tap, 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 missile command, missile command, missile command, missile command, missile command. Right? Swipe, swipe, swipe. Every once in a while, like it's crossing over. I think there's it might be my logic, and it might be because how the button held node is working. I might have to do something a little bit different here. I wonder if that prefab's just kind of screwy. Yeah, I'm not getting a button held track here, all right? It's not consistent every time, so somewhere in my logic I may be getting something a little bit off. I think, let's do this. Delete this water trail. We will delete this thing. Create empty water trail. I hate when it does that. I have to hit enter. Water trail. Let's add a component. Use script, graphs, sonar, size 2, 1, 1, tab. Then let's do create 3D object cube. We'll make this cube 1. Let's call this 5. Okay. Put this on our water trail. 0, 0, 0, whatever section is this. Oh, actually, that might be the other thing that was happening, was my water trail was showing up underneath. Maybe. Let's see. Yes. Kick it out, Raban. Hit me with a detail. Oh, that's a cool idea. Or maybe it is his blind stick, right? Yeah, I was actually thinking about making the fishing rod out of a bamboo thing, and maybe he's walking around with it. You know, I could combine the fishing rod, walking cane, sword. Like, it could all just be one thing. Like, he's a freaking, I don't know, like a daredevil ninja blind samurai guy, right? Here, hold on, let's see this. No, I'm not getting my water trail. Let's see here. I have completely broken my logic. Same, different, larger, swipe threshold. Is the swipe time longer than 1 second? Let's make this 0.3 again. Okay, I think basically I've made it too long. Save this. Let's go look at our swipe threshold here. 3, just 1. Now that our logic is working correctly. Okay, you know, we've got a treat today. I'm going to end the last hour, like I'm going to end on my bit here, and we're going to go check in on Josh. He's going to call in here pretty soon. Josh, go start getting your stuff ready, and then text me when you're ready to go. Oh, we for sure got to get boot or garbage. Those are things that I think you want to avoid with the swipe, right? There we go. There's our water trail. I'm missing clicks sometimes. Huh, I wonder. Okay, are you ready now? All right, I will come back and fix this bug when we after we talk to Josh. Let's see how Josh is doing. Well, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can do a quick fix on this bug before we go. So I'm getting my swipe time from here. Let's check the console one more time. I want to look at what times I'm getting. Point 6, 0.9, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.4. Okay, now I understand. Let's go to UScript, our main UScript. Let's make this 0.2. So our swipe threshold can be really tiny. Yeah, it's a lot like Kismet, Raban. It's UScript. I'll show it to you in the asset store. Actually, I think what we need to do basically is tune this threshold, because I want swipes to show up. I think they're fighting. They are fighting in here. I wonder if I shouldn't just do, there's our stopwatch. I can do a distance separate. I'm going to kick out a log. Gives me a swipe distance, and let's do this in an organized fashion. Let's actually, yeah, so it's kind of like UE Blueprints, but it's more like Kismet from before, like UE3. And I like it for several reasons. One, it is a visual way for me to talk through the logic here for the show. And two, this actually makes C# scripts that we can go in and edit later if we need to. You know, the other thing is over here, see this in the toolbox? It's reflecting everything that Unity has in your screen, or sorry, in your scene, so you can actually learn what things are available from the Unity engine as a node potentially. So let's go to, let's say, the GUI layer, and let's get components from this GUI layer object, right? And you can sort of learn your way through all the things that the Unity engine can do, or at least get an idea of it by looking over here. So it's sort of a faster way to have a reference. So there's a bunch of different reasons I like this, particularly for the Coffee or Cross show. But you know, it's really great for the show in particular, just because it's visual. Also, yes, actually, Del, that's the intention of this. Let me look at the logic in a second. Hold on. Also, Raban, let's see. Learning edition free that you can try out. If you look on the Detox Studios site, there's a personal learning edition that you can try out, because the tool is actually $99, but if you try out the personal learning edition, you can see whether you like it or not, and see if it works for you. So, okay, let's walk through this. Sorry, Josh, there's a slight delay. Let's walk through this real quick. When the input goes up, if the swipe time is less than or equal to this threshold, then we go to this one, right? Which is the swipe distance. If the swipe distance, what I've done is I put a double choke here. So these might not be tuned to work well with each other. If the distance between the button down and button up, as from down here, is the same, and you know, I think this is where this is where I'm failing slightly. I am not giving that variable enough time to change, because the input up is at the same time as this input up, right? I think that's where we're at. So let's do something. This is going to cause us a little bit of hassle. Actually, what I want is for this to happen right before I get that other one, and I think what's happening is it's happening at the same time. And what I need to do, and this is going to possibly make things feel slightly laggy, watch this action, is instead of doing the distance check at the same time that I'm doing a distance check here, what I'm gonna do is put the distance check, this thing, right, at the end of this, okay, so that our logic flows in one place. Now our distance check happens where we're actually checking the distance, but what we don't have now is a way to connect this back up to the top. So let me kill this thing, and what we're going to do is, I'll show you a neat little trick here. We will come down here and add action, variable action, bool, set boolean. If it's larger than this, set the boolean to true. Let's see, variable boolean. We're going to call this can swipe. All right, and it is true by default. If it's less than or equal to this distance threshold, we're going to set it to false. Now what we're going to do is, see, view this, add condition, comparison, compare bool, right? If it's greater than the swipe threshold, check the boolean. If I can swipe, do the action. Although we might have the same problem because of the timing of this input up. And what we'll do is, if it's less than or equal to this, we will false, and what we're going to do is actually set this to default false. So on button up, if get the timing, start the counter, get the distance, wow, you know, what I'm going to have to do is actually put this stuff in line. I have to guarantee that this happens in the other sequence. So, actually, let's try this. I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to run into some timing issues as well. Play! Play! on. Stay on target. Yeah, we're going to run into some sequential sequence bits. I don't know that I need a distance check for this. All I need for the ripple is that it's less than a certain time, and then we'll just compare whether or not we can do a swipe. And we will try that. I don't need to double throttle this other piece. Come on. Oh, made my timing threshold so small. That's 0.3. It's interesting that I get don't always get a swipe out of it. I might be trying too much on one input. Okay, let's take a break. I'll think about this stuff, and then it's good enough for now. We have the difference between a swipe and a touch, and in fact what I'll do is next week I'll see if I can go grab an input manager to basically just tell me when we get a swipe, and we'll do this actually with a plugin. So, Josh, you want to give me a call?